Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another dual episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple and the Entrepreneur Rescue Mission. I am here with my beautiful wife and co-host and business owner, Nancy.
Hello.
So today we're going to talk about an aspect of your business that everybody needs in order to succeed. Before we dive into this, it is official. We are now fully open and ready for people to join our free LinkedIn workshop for 2024. It begins in about 3 weeks. It's a 5-day LinkedIn intensive. It's called the Amateur to Expert on LinkedIn. So if you're looking to learn how to leverage LinkedIn for sales, for marketing, for visibility, for lead gen, for sales acquisition, client acquisition, and so much more, it's free. So just go to the description of this episode, click on the link, grab your seat, and we will see you there later in January. So, Nance, what is the one aspect of your business that everybody needs to have?
Aspect. Okay. Well, I think in systems and operations and processes, that's just how that's my jam. So I'm going to kind of break it down for you guys listening like that. Okay. So if we look at business as a whole, and I love it, right? Because all businesses are the same. Okay. I always tell Scott, businesses are simple. We overcomplicate them most of the time. So every single business has these three core functions. Okay. They have operations, they have financial, and then they have sales and marketing. And when we dig a little bit deeper and we think about the different systems and processes that we should have in our business, one is so incredibly important, right? They all have their place. But one that I really want you guys to focus on, especially as we go into, the new year, and as we start really thinking about really putting our feet on the ground and, hitting the pavement or whatever that saying is. And I want you guys to think about having, and really how well is it working currently? You guys need to have, and this is important. Like, I'm all over the place with my words today. You need to have a lead generation system. Okay. You need to have a sales and lead gen system. And one of the things that I always say to Scott, right, especially with my marketing backgrounds, every time that he puts his LinkedIn program out there and he's sharing it with people and he's talking to people about it, I get excited because to me, what he's teaching is a lead generation system. It's basically a whole entire process that you can plug into your business where people then follow it. They do a couple things each day. In fact, right, you've got a 15-minute a day routine, and it can rapidly generate leads and growth for your business. Okay. So, we've obviously been doing that with people. You've helped thousands of clients. You've trained for some of the top financial firms in the country, which has been phenomenal. But, looking at the other side of this, right, there are lots of different things that we can do whenever it comes to lead generation. And when we have a really solid lead generation strategy, things become much more fun in our business because we are bringing in consistent income. We know, right? We're bringing in quality leads and we've got it on rinse and repeat. So what does a lead generation system look like? Right? What does this look like for your business? So there's a few different things that you need to do as you're creating this system. And one is you need to understand who your ideal client is, right? Scott knows in everything that we teach, even in my book, I started with it. You got to be clear on who it is that you're talking to first, right? Who is it that you want to attract? If you guys are blindly going on social media or you're going on LinkedIn or you're going on, in the really anywhere, and you don't really know who you're trying to attract, and you're just spraying and praying and posting content and not really sure who it's geared towards, that's going to be a really big mess for a long time before you actually start making traction. And when you start making traction, that's when you start to narrow down and you actually make the decision on who it is that you want to work with. Okay. So know who your target audience is. That's step one, right, in creating your process. Step number two is, right, and we teach this in our expert authority program and even in expert foundations as well, you got to build the mechanisms, right, to capture leads. Okay. So what does that look like, right? A basic sales funnel. Okay. Not complicated. In fact, if you guys have not read it yet, a really amazing resource. Go buy Donald Miller's book. It's called Marketing Made Simple. He breaks down the very simple marketing assets that you need to build a sales funnel. Guys, I even teach it in my book, How to Build a Personal Brand on Social Media. Check it out. Okay. You got to set up the different pieces in place to make sure they're able to collect and manage those leads, right? So, do you have a website? Do you have an email service provider so you're able to actually capture emails? Do you have a free offer that you're using to put out there and capture those emails? Okay. So next is content marketing, right? We've got to get noticed. We got to tell people what it is that we do. So when we talk about lead gen strategy, Scott taught me one of the biggest things. Years ago, I had started a consulting practice, and I went to Scott one day and I said, "No one's hiring me." And what did you say, Scott?
I
You remember
said,
what you
does
said?
anybody even know what you're doing? Are you putting it out there?
And I wasn't. And I mean, what? Why would people just magically gonna know what I do? I didn't even post anything about it. I had no content strategy. So, as part of that lead gen system that you guys are creating, make sure that you've got some content marketing in place. You've got a routine around creating consistent content. Other things that you can do. In fact, we're not going to go through all of them today. And in fact, my challenge to you is actually think about the different things in your business. How are you going to generate leads? How are you going to manage that? We talk about, and I'm going to circle back around to a workshop that we're doing, which is amateur to expert on LinkedIn. So again, I said LinkedIn is such a great lead generation process. In fact, I work with a lot of health insurance brokers. And honestly, I had a conversation one time. I got all fired up and I was like, I want to shake you guys, because so many of them who had been in business for many years still wanted to do cold calling as a way to generate leads. They still wanted to just randomly, dial and hopefully someone was going to say yes. And it was me trying to convince them to use LinkedIn, to connect, to engage, to actually decide who it is that they really want to, be able to put content out there for and connect with, and then, do the basic things each day. And they kept avoiding it. And it's like, why avoid something that definitely is going to work and it's going to help your business so much? So, Scott, you want to share a little bit about how LinkedIn fits into that lead gen strategy and how that could really be a system that people can do each week and each day for their business?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it really depends first who your target market is. So if your end user, ideal client, customer is a business professional, first and foremost, you should be leading with LinkedIn. That should be the nucleus of what you're doing. And then you want to be omnipresent on all the other platforms. You can do TikToks, you can do Reels, you can do Facebook, you can do YouTube, but the North Star of what you're going to be doing is going to be focused on LinkedIn. Now, as far as the sales and lead gen side, there's two core components to it. The first component is the network that you're building. The second component is the content that you provide. So people may be thinking, well, Scott, what about the messaging? Here's the thing. The messaging doesn't work the way that it once used to because of a lot of spammers that are on the platform. Nancy mentioned the spray and pray methodology. This is very present and overly abundant on LinkedIn right now. They're putting restrictions up left and right. So again, if you're that health insurance broker, just as an example, you're a health insurance broker, as an example, what you should be doing is not so much focusing on the ideal client side of things, because again, you should be planting seeds with, HR reps. It could be the marketing managers, the people that are the decision makers with the companies, and say that you work in group benefits. Like that's one of like your main drivers. You want to connect with the people that are the decision makers who's saying, yes, we want to partner with your insurance firm to provide for our group benefits for our employees. The main driver of connections that you're going to need to make are what Nancy and I call power partners or business allies, people that can introduce you to other potential opportunities for getting yourself in front of the right companies. You need to have this two-tier connection strategy going, planting seeds with some ideal clients the decision makers in those organizations, but also the power partners, your business allies, referral partners, people that you can collaborate with and refer people back and forth. So that's the first example. Now, sticking with the health insurance brokers as an example. So, obviously the first aspect is building that viable network. So the second part, which I aforementioned, was your content strategy. This is important because there's a question that's always brought up. How do I get more people to engage in my content? How do I get people to like and comment? How do I get people to reach out to me? Well, first, it starts with making sure that you have the right people in your network, because they're not going to resonate with what you're doing if they don't resonate with your content. So you need to make sure that the content strategy that you have from what you're going to produce is directly related to the type of connections that you're going to have that would relate to it. So I want to just put that out there first. Now, your content strategy, I talk about this all the time, that you should be posting about 3 times a week on LinkedIn. Now, the types of posts that you want to make, there's 3 different types: video content, market research content, and long form content. Now, what does that look like? For the health insurance broker, that could be a 2 to 4 minute explainer video on maybe an update to the health insurance industry, or depending upon the time of year, obviously towards the end of the year, moving into Q1, a lot of companies are looking to maybe change over their group benefits, and they're looking for advantages of, getting the best deals for their employees. What makes your insurance company better than X, Y, and Z? Giving some examples, like give information, give facts, give value. And nothing connects better with an audience than someone seeing and hearing you at the same time. That's why Nancy and I always talk about doing a video. Another thing that you can do video-wise, Nancy and I are big believers in social proof. Do a nice little interview with a client that you currently work with. So if there are companies and organizations that you currently have within your book of business, reach out to the point of contact and say, hey, would you be open to a 5 to 10 minute interview that I can post on LinkedIn, kind of sharing your experience of working with our firm? That's another great thing that you can do. Wednesday would be your market research poll. Now, what I love about LinkedIn is that if you really want to find out what your ideal target market is struggling with, all you have to do is ask them a question. So all you have to do is talk about the known frustration points and areas of concern that a lot of these companies have, and you want to pose that in a market research poll. So the question could be, how much trouble do you have finding the right compensation plan, for your employees? Very difficult, somewhat difficult, not difficult at all. So again, that's just an example. That's basically you getting some much needed feedback from your network in that market research poll, that you can then use that market research information and then focus on your long form piece of content that you're going to post on Friday. Now, that could be a post, or even better, you should start a LinkedIn newsletter. And within that LinkedIn newsletter, you will release a new edition each week based on the market research that you've done on Wednesday. So for the example I just gave you, when I was talking about employee compensation, if that known pain point was people really struggle in this area of picking the right employee compensation program for their employees, you can do a whole long form newsletter edition on the things to look for when choosing the right compensation plan for your employees in 2024. And then, you can use ChatGPT for some prompt and some ideas, and then you can bring your own voice to it. And that would be a really great way, not just to market and brand yourself, but that will also act as a sales and lead generator for yourself, because you are positioning yourself as the expert in the space that you're in. So again, going back to that, make sure that you're building the right kind of network first. Knowing the network that you've built, provide relevant content in those 3 forms: video content, market research polls, and long form newsletter editions.
Awesome. All
Back
right.
to
Well,
you, Nance.
yeah, I can go on and on about systems, guys, and again, I thank you, Scott, for sharing, that because I think LinkedIn and using it to generate leads, I see it, I experience it all the time, people having so much success. In fact, I love meeting with my clients that are implementing it and shouting it from the rooftops, like how much it's changed their business. So super huge. Again, we don't want to make things overly complicated. So, your lead gen strategies might look a little different based on what is working for your business. But go through and map it out, right? What does it look like for your business? What does that journey look like, as you're doing it yourself, as your team's helping you do it, so on and so forth. But I'll kind of leave it there. I don't want to go too in depth with systems, but again, I just really, really cannot stress this enough. If you guys do not have a solid lead gen system in place for your business, it's time to start sitting down and mapping it out. And
Yep,
that's it.
100%. And again, if you guys are looking to learn more about this specific strategy, which we will be going over in our Amateur to Expert 5-day free LinkedIn intensive in January, just go to the description of this episode, click on the link, get yourself registered completely free so you can spend a solid 5 days with us. So everyone, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Love and gratitude. If you're listening to this in real time, Merry Christmas. Enjoy the time with your family. And we are looking forward to an incredible and amazing 2024 together. So enjoy.